That's right. Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers. Tiki here, along with my associate Jon Kelling. How you doing, John?
I'm doing spectacular.
Right on. Good to hear it. Well, folks, it's time yet again to explore the vast catalog and find out what's a must or a bust on Disney Plus. And tonight we're talking about Ahsoka Part 4 Fallen Jedi. John, it's literally been a running gag on this podcast that we our audience engagement has been up. We've been getting a lot of live commenters. Some regulars like Code Geass and Richard's Victims, just to give them some shout outs. But John, on this particular show, we have not gotten a single comment so far. So I wonder if we'll keep it up. Like, what I'm trying to set up is that audience engagement for this show is very low.
I wonder if that's a reflection on the show itself.
I kind of feel like it's less a reflection of the show itself, and at least for me personally, how I feel is that I feel like people are just inherently done with Disney just as a whole.
Maybe I don't. It would be hard. It would be hard to say. There's definitely some credibility to that as a possibility, especially this past year alone. Like some of their bigger things have not gone the way that they were hoping. It's been kind of rough for them.
Yeah, to say the least. All right. Well, regardless, John, I don't know about you, but I'm enjoying this show. I'm not loving it in the same way that I would love something like Andor, but for me, I think this is solidly better than Mando season 3. Like I don't know what your opinions were on that, but I thought that season was kind of a mess. So I think
I can tell you exactly what my opinions are on that. I'm not finished with Mando season 3.
Oh, jeez.
The last thing I remember, that one Imperial doctor was reintegrated into into society back on Coruscant, and him and that other officer were on their way to steal a mobile lab. And I got preoccupied with something, and I haven't seen it since.
You really aren't missing much. I mean, so at the very least, to me, like Mando season 3 just felt like, Mandalorian has always been a show made of side quests. Like that was kind of its thing. But really, with Mando season 3, it was like the problem was, okay, like he literally bathes in the waters of Mandalore in like the first couple episodes. So that was like the main goal. Like, what's next? Like, what is this season really about? And it took forever to get there. Whereas with Ahsoka, I definitely have some issues with the show, particularly in the pacing department. But like, God, at the very least, it feels like this show is driving towards something. So, just overall, how are you feeling about now that we're halfway through Ahsoka? How are you feeling about it?
You've kind of hit the nail on the head for me. It like my biggest, I wouldn't even say issue, just the thing I was noticing that was like, okay, like episode 3 kind of felt like nothing happened. And which is unfortunate to say, because we got shown that things are moving majorly, but like that whole episode kind of felt like going on a trip to the store with Ahsoka.
A little bit, yeah.
And then like they just ran out of gas at the end. I'm almost curious how the show would feel if the episodes were edited either longer or shorter. Because the like, what's the average on these? Like about 22 minutes, more or less?
Yeah, roughly about 35, I think. The first episode, I think, was about like 50, and then it kind of got like 50, 40, and then we've been at like 35 for the last two.
Okay, so just over a half hour.
Uh-huh.
I'm curious what these would be if they were cut down to like standard Rebel length episodes. I wonder if that would change the pacing at all. Like, I can see why now they premiered 2 episodes at once, initially. because things don't really start kicking off until like those first 2 episodes really finish off. And then the third one kind of goes. And this one, there was so much happening. It almost felt like a reverse of what my initial irksome like stance on was. It picked up like almost immediately, like old. Like so much happened in this episode.
Yeah.
I have so many questions.
All right.
Who the hell is Lord Balin?
Yeah, for sure. Well, we'll break it all down. For me personally, I actually defend episode 3 just in the sense that one of my favorite elements of Star Wars is I love a good space dogfight, and I thought episode 3 had a really good one. But literally, that's about it. Like, I thought all the training stuff was very, very, like, spinning wheels. I think at this point, my favorite on-screen performance is Mary Elizabeth Winstead, so anything she's in, I'm kind of game for, so I liked all her scenes. Honestly, just to kind of jump into it, because I think even though this episode is definitely more fast-paced, I think continuing on with this episode and hopefully with what we got at the end, we're going to kind of breathe some life into it. But for me, the most lifeless part of Ahsoka has been Ahsoka. Like, I feel like they are playing Rosario Dawson as like the stoic Jedi master. I feel like they're taking the stoic thing and going like way too far with it, because frankly, like for me, the performance, and I love Rosario Dawson. Like I'm a big fan of her from stuff like Clerks 2, Daredevil, of course. I mean, all kinds of stuff. Yeah, but for me, it's almost like her performance is like they're going for stoic, but it comes off as bored. And I honestly kind of got that even up through, like, once we get to the Balin fight itself, then there's a little bit more emotion, but up until then, she just kind of seems grumpy. Like, that's kind of been her baseline emotion the whole time.
I know exactly what you're saying.
I
don't see her as not even so much stoic. She seems more pensive. Like,
yeah.
She's like weighing all her options, like from like years and years of experience of doing this shit. And Rosario Dawson being cast as Ahsoka was always a fan cast kind of thing. And then it just kind of manifested itself into reality. And when she officially got cast, I was like, oh, I don't know if I'm down with this 100% because she's not who I would pick for Ahsoka. I would probably have picked somebody who is a little bit more lively.
Mm-hmm.
Because even around this time, or even like a few years back, the character was to an extent like sort of stoic, but she still had some fun to her. Like in Rebels, it felt like the Ahsoka from Clone Wars grown up, but it was still her.
Sure.
And this one, it's almost like we're missing a big chunk of something that clearly happened to like make her. Maybe it's the unseen training that she had with Sabine. Maybe that changed her.
Okay, I'm sorry. Can we talk about that? Because for me, honestly, the more we go on with the show, to me, the biggest issue with it is it's not so much the fact that it's so tied to Rebels, because honestly, I think the characters, like I said, especially Hera, I've got a big soft spot for Mary Elizabeth Winstead just as a performer, but I think all the characters work well enough on their own where you don't really need to see Rebels to follow the story. But I think the big issue for me, like, because the big criticism I hear from people is like, oh, it's too tied to Rebels. And yeah, like from a marketing point of view, that's probably true. Like, I feel like that's probably another reason why it's not getting as much traction.
I wouldn't even say it's too tied to Rebels. It's just that this is the issue run with an ongoing, continuing story. Like, you don't necessarily need to know like the backstory of everybody for a new story being told. It is beneficial for you. Like it's essentially supplementary, but at a certain point, it falls on the story itself if it's told well enough, if that is actually needed or not. And I don't know if anything's happened so far in this story, because I'm not the biggest Star Wars fan. I'm a passive watcher.
Same.
Like some of my favorite stuff has been since the Disney purchase. Like the original trilogy's fine. The prequel trilogy's okay. Clone Wars was a little janky for a bit, and then it started to get really good, and then it got really good. Rebels.
I really like Rebels.
Rebels kind of started off almost like halfway to like where Clone Wars was,
right?
Like, and then it got extremely good. And then they kind of missed some marks, hit some marks. It's kind of a crapshoot at this point. I think the best thing they've done since is maybe Andor.
Yeah, Andor I definitely think is, like, for me, probably the best Disney Star Wars thing, period.
Yeah, but, and it's oddly, it's the thing that is the most centered, like, in the name of the franchise. It's about the war.
But let me tell you, I don't. For me, the issue isn't so much that it's too tied to Rebels. For me, the big issue, storytelling wise, is just how much stuff just kind of happened off screen in between Rebels and this. That's just kind of glazed over in exposition, like the fact that Ahsoka and Sabine apparently had this, like, you know, like really kind of like back and forth training thing, master apprentice thing that didn't really work out. Like, that is, like, to me, it's like I would, I don't know, show some flashbacks to that or something, just so we know what the dynamic was like.
I'm just saying, like, we could have had flashbacks of like what the printing originally was and what it is like now currently in episode 3.
Right.
That would have, I think that would have helped with pacing at least.
And then also, like, this episode really kind of dropped a bombshell on me. And honestly, it goes by so quick that I didn't even notice it until I rewatched the episode. So apparently, all of Sabine's family is fucking dead.
Wait, what?
Yeah, you didn't catch it, did you? It's literally just like it's like a passing line by Ahsoka to Baylan.
No, what? I didn't realize that.
So this is what I'm talking about. Like, you would think that would be like a huge thing with Sabine's character, especially given, like, you know, how much she had to go through to reunite with her family.
You know, now I'm starting to second guess what the hell they're doing with this story.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. This episode for me, it's kind of funny because I feel like the rest of the internet, I don't know, honestly, John, just given the ending of this episode, which we will address, I kind of feel like it's a little bit like dangling keys, right? It's like, ooh, look, it's the thing you want. It's the thing you want. Yeah. And the internet's just falling for it. And it's like, for me, it's like, yeah, but like this episode did have great lightsaber stuff. It did have great stuff with Baylan. Baylan is awesome. Baylan is, I gotta admit, I wasn't even really sold on him after the first episode because I kind of thought he was just sort of like a Vader ripoff, just based on his introduction. Just his introduction to me felt very much like they were trying to recapture the magic of Vader in Rogue One. But he's really come into his own as a character. But anyways,
he feels more like a almost like a more fleshed out Dooku. Like I
totally.
This guy is like more morally gray than what Dooku was, and Dooku was a Sith, and he was still trying to like tide the line. But the Baylan, I'm like, I kind of get what this guy is, and I'm like, and I don't know where he's gonna fall at the end of this.
I think the big thing with Baylan is just like how the hell does he know Anakin Skywalker? That's the big hanging thing for me, right?
Well, the inference is that he was in he was in the he was a Jedi.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that's also what I'm getting from, like, I think the title of the episode is also, like, has multiple meanings. I'm like, it's obviously a reference, like, towards Ahsoka herself, probably Balin. Um, uh, I don't know where the hell he picked up that little psychopath, but I'm sure, it just probably uses old Jedi tricks, like, oh, this kid's got the Force. I'm like, well, they're coming with me now.
I kind of like her screen presence. I got to admit, I'm not a fan of the third person in the equation.
Yeah, here's the thing. Was it? Did we know she was a witch? When
that the witch thing, that's one of the few things that Filoni's brought to Star Wars I don't really vibe with, honestly.
I don't mind it. It's just that, like, did we know that she was when she showed up in season 2 of The Mandalorian?
I don't know. I don't even remember her from season 2 of Mandalorian. That's the thing.
She had the Beskar spear. That's
right, yeah.
That, like, Ahsoka, like, kicked her ass, and that's where we got, like, where's Thrawn? Like, that was, like, the first seeds of, like, Thrawn's coming back. I don't know. So we're halfway, so we have 4 more episodes, correct?
We have 4 more, yeah, which, by the way, that feels refreshing after just, I'm still kind of, like, I don't want to say traumatized, that's extreme, but, like, fucking Secret Invasion was such a mess.
It was such a missed opportunity. They had
and just having 6 episodes to try and tell that story, and just what they did episode to episode. So, like, right now it's like, I see Dragon in the comments here. He says he confirms we didn't know that in season 2. Also, just to shout out Richard's Victims. Richard's Victims, thank you for having the first comment in Ahsoka for this channel. I appreciate you. He says, I didn't watch the episode yet, but I can say I just don't trust orange characters.
That's pretty racist. And
don't trust that Hugh Grant Oompa Loompa.
Yeah, we don't take kindly to people who don't take kindly to others around here.
All right. We don't talk about Secret Invasion. Yeah. But Dragon and I were talking about last week, where it's like, basically the one thing that needed to happen this week, which absolutely did, was they went through the damn Stargate, or whatever the hell they're calling it. Like,
the hyperspace ring?
Yeah. Like, we're there, and I actually really like how they did it. I definitely want to break down the whole Sabine thing with Balin. And we got the Anakin thing, and hopefully that's going to be a really cool kind of, I'm really stoked for next week. I think next week, you would think that we got to see Ezra next week. I would hope so, unless it's just going to be like all Ahsoka and Anakin, which is possible. But I don't know. I would hope that they would kind of like do sort of like thematically tying Ahsoka reuniting with Anakin with Sabine reuniting with Ezra. At least that's what I hope they're going to do for next week.
I get the feeling that Ezra's going to be a last episode reveal kind of.
Oh, don't say that, Jon. Don't say that. That's what Dragon and I have been dreading.
Listen, because the threat is Thrawn, so I'm just based off of, like, how they do these things. Thrawn's going to be the focus for the next, like, few episodes. And he's probably going to drop the bomb that Ezra's dead.
Oh.
Like, either he assumes he's dead, maybe he thinks he killed him, maybe he did die, maybe he pulled a freaking Ahsoka and went to wherever the hell that magical world is. I think the implication is going to be Ezra's dead, and then at the end he's going to show up and, like, nope.
Or some world between world stuff happens with him.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that they did it like at the halfway point with Ahsoka again, I was like, okay, I was expecting this, because this is almost like Ahsoka's thing now. Is just her like essentially like going into the world between worlds and like borderline time traveling. And
right. Yeah, it is kind of her thing.
And I'm like, but Ezra's also like aware of that too. He's done it too.
Well,
So,
I sincerely hope you're wrong about Ezra not showing up until the finale, because frankly,
that's what I want to happen. It's just
yeah,
like it feels like what they would do.
it does feel like that what they would do, but frankly, I feel like that's a Disney Plus thing that has been like a really big, like, consistently they've been fucking it up. It's like think how much better Hawkeye would have been if Kingpin would have been a presence throughout like the second half of that season instead of just like the last episode.
Like he was supposed to be, but they edited around it.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you've seen those deleted scenes from Hawkeye, you'll see Fisk was supposed to be a lot more like present in that show.
So you see that's what I don't understand. Like what are you doing, Disney? You already have enough problems as a company. Like why are you like intentionally editing out like the big draw? Like you would think that Vincent D'Onofrio Kingpin would be like the big thing for Hawkeye.
Yeah, like I don't know why you wouldn't drop that like halfway through. Like make the reveal that like he's having dinner with like Kate's mother.
Mm-hmm.
And then you draw more people in for the rest of your show. No, listen, Filoni more often than not, like he hits like more often than he misses with his stuff. So this is kind of like his baby. Like Ahsoka is like his child.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like I would hope he wouldn't do anything that would damage her reputation in any form of media. And so the show's good. It's getting better. Hopefully the momentum keeps up. I would love to be wrong and just think that the show is just going to be okay and that we've all just been kind of overhyping it. I would hate for that to be the outcome, but I have hope.
I mean, I think this episode set up some really great stuff, which let's kind of like work our way backwards and talk, like kind of build up to it. There's not a ton to talk about, like up until we get to the big Ahsoka versus Balin stuff, but just overall, I really do like the how fast paced this episode is with the lightsaber stuff. I honestly, for me, I think this episode pretty definitively has, maybe outside of some of the animated stuff, definitely in live action, it's got the best lightsaber. Like I think the lightsaber stuff in this episode is better than anything from the sequel trilogy, just bar none.
Yeah, it feels more weighty. Like it feels like these things are dangerous. Like I would hate to be in a fucking lightsaber fight if like these are the kind of people that I'm fighting.
Like which again, I think it was a big mistake for them to literally end the first episode of the show with Sabine getting wounded by a fucking lightsaber. That to me was just like, that was not a good omen. I'm not gonna lie.
Listen, we've seen people survive worse. Vader literally got set on fire by lava.
This is true.
And Sabine was just like, a few clicks away from the city. Like
she was bedridden for an episode.
Yeah, in Star Wars, I'm like, look, she didn't need a backup tank, so it wasn't that bad.
That's true. Yeah. But yeah, honestly, just everything leading up to the Balin stuff to me very much felt like a better version of the last action scene from Force Awakens. Just all the stuff in the forest.
Yeah. Oh, and let me just say, this is Rey's like final role, right? Like he didn't film anything before after he finished this.
Oh, right? I don't know. I'd have to fact check that. Dragon, do you know by chance? I'm gonna look it up.
Well, I'm gonna make the dumbass decision and just automatically assume that this was his like final completed role. If this is what he's gonna be for this show,
I totally forgot he was in RRR. That's funny.
what a way to go out if this is what he's going to be bringing to the show.
Oh, totally.
Like he has such gravitas, like in that short amount of time he has with Ahsoka, and just like how I wouldn't even say flippant, how he talks back to Morgan. Like she calls him scared, he's like, no, just experienced. I'm aware of what people like this are capable of.
Looks like he's got one upcoming thing. It's called Gateway to the West. That's going to be his final released role. But you know what? This is that sounds kind of obscure. This is obviously a really big role. By all intents and purposes, this is the last thing that he's going to be.
Yeah, as far as the general main audience is concerned, this is the only thing he'll ever do, like ever. Like,
well, probably that and Punisher.
Yeah, like because the people barely bring up Volstagg. Which I think he was fun in, but
I know Rome's got some fans.
Yeah.
So all the stuff between him and Ahsoka is great. You know, like basically, you know what? I've got John Campea. He's definitely had a rocky summer to say the least with his career, but he did make some good observations that I'll kind of bring up. I'll just give him credit just so it doesn't seem like I'm taking his ideas, but he brought up how, you know, Baylan is essentially how he talks to Ahsoka. He's essentially viewing her as the antagonist, you know what I mean? And not just in the way of like, you know, like a Thanos style, like, oh, I have a justification for doing what I'm doing. Like, no, in the way of like, for him, morally, like she is very much in the wrong. And I find that really a fascinating dynamic.
It's interesting if you look at from the view of that towards the end, the Jedi were like just vehemently wrong.
Exactly.
And if she was no longer a Jedi, like she quit, she is still following their code. And to him, that is not good. Like, like you left them, and yet you're still upholding everything that they stand for. Like, the whole point of leaving is to just throw it all away. Like, so I'm interested to see what his story is, assuming we get it. I'm interested to see where he ends up, because obviously the actor's gone, so he can't reprise the role. But I would still love to see what this character becomes.
God forbid this ends on a cliffhanger for his character.
Oh my God, they're
I would hope that if it did, they would edit around it.
You know what they're gonna do? They're gonna make it ambiguous about his death, and he's gonna come back literally like a Darth Vader.
No! Oh God! Oh, Jesus! I'm not gonna lie. Part of me thinks that would be kind of cool, but yeah, it's too soon. Okay, but I really think once, I mean, obviously when he defeats Ahsoka, everyone is thinking like, okay, like the show is called Ahsoka. Like, we're not going to do the thing where they kill off the main character halfway through and then the rest of the show is kind of like an homage to the character. Like, actually, I had a really fun, like, ongoing, like, kind of like headcanon. Like, I never really took it seriously, but in Gotham, I always thought it would be funny if they killed Bruce Wayne off like halfway through season 1 and the show became about Alfred becoming Batman and avenging Bruce's death.
See, I thought that would have been a great ending for Joker if the shooter also just killed Bruce.
Ooh, that would be interesting. Yeah.
This isn't the world without Batman. This is what you get. You just get Joker. Yeah, like, I was never worried for Ahsoka. Like, well, actually, that's not true because this is the furthest in her. I think this is the furthest in her timeline that we're aware of, like, of anything happening to her.
If this was like the penultimate episode, then yeah, I'd be a little bit worried. But
like, we've seen her seemingly die before, so
right.
I know she's gonna magic her way out of it like she did last time.
Well, I honestly don't think the audience was supposed to worry about her. Honestly, I feel like at this point, like the audience is so like we know the trope of it looks like she's gone, but she's not, because in the immortal words of Red Letter Media, no one's ever really gone. but honestly, for me, Balin's intimidation and intrigue just kicks up to 11 with his conversation with Sabine, because I love how he handles that. I love how he basically plays her like a fucking fiddle, and it's great.
Well, I mean, does he play her? I'm like, he literally says like, just give it to me. Like, we'll go together. Like, I don't think he's even.
No, I mean, no, actually, you're right. Thank you for because that really is the brilliance of it, is that he isn't really, like, he's obviously getting what he wants, but yeah, there's honestly not even a lot of manipulation in it.
He even stops her from getting killed.
Like
if he really wanted to wash our hands of her, he could have just let his pet serial killer just like chill her out.
So that moment where he's like, "No, I made a deal with her," like that to me, like that was like the most interesting moment with him so far, because not only does he view himself, not only does he view Ahsoka as very much morally in the wrong, but really, like, even from our point of view, in some ways, he is morally in the right.
This is the rare instance of where people overuse the term anti-villain. This is an anti-hero. This is an anti-villain.
Totally.
This is a villain with heroic characteristics. He is honorable. He keeps his word. He's willing to talk it out. He's so far he's the most interesting character in the show, and we don't know anything about him. I think it gives more credence because now remembering something from episode 1, like the very beginning, like when they appear, and the line he has, which was used in the trailer, that we are no Jedi. Like there's some sort of like malice to that. Like this guy definitely fucking hates Jedi, and like not just because he's a dark side user, but because he's like, nah, he realized something like at some point in his life he was like, oh fuck this.
And in a way, that's a really fascinating mirror to Ahsoka's arc. Like, granted, I really need to catch up on Clone Wars, because I really need to see everything that led to her leaving the Order. I really just know the bare minimum. I really haven't caught up with Clone Wars at all.
Oh no, the Jedi Council like did her dirty. I like, without spoiling it, they deserved her leaving. Like there's no way like they were gonna, and like I'm still surprised she like came back in any like regard, because like what they did to her is when she left, I was like, I'm done with this. Like, didn't know.
So I definitely need. I mean, the thing with Clone Wars is that I know I have to wade through like 2 seasons worth of filler to get to the good stuff.
Well, here's the thing: are you watching it in release order, or you're going to watch it in chronological order?
Whatever order is on Disney Plus.
Okay, well, be careful, because I believe Disney has a habit of like putting animated shows out of order sometimes.
Ooh, okay, I'll look into that then. I'm honestly kind of considering like doing one of those things where I just look up a list of essential episodes, but I don't know, man. Like I'm someone where it's like I don't necessarily like, for example, Rebels season 1 had a lot of filler episodes, but all those filler episodes were there to kind of like build up the dynamics between the different characters. So I like having all that.
Yeah, like especially a lot of the Imperial characters that like made their way through like throughout the show, like Captain Sideburns. I'm now really interested, like what they're gonna do with Thrawn now. Like hopefully it literally opens with Thrawn next episode. I'm kind of tired of Disney doing this, where they're just kind of holding out like
right.
just ringing out like as much story as like.
I honestly kind of think it's more likely that they'll play the long game with Thrawn than Ezra.
I hope not, because we've seen Thrawn in the trailer.
That's true. Yeah,
seen any footage of Ezra. The only thing we've seen of Ezra
was the hologram.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So like and maybe, and again, who knows? Maybe that's the only thing we ever get of him.
I don't know. That thought has passed my mind.
Like I don't know. Like,
I think it would be badass if we saw him and he had like a Kanan look with like the beard and the ponytail and everything.
he's in one eye.
Oh, right.
But yeah,
Seriously, it still bugs me that Kanan, like, he literally like shaves and gets a haircut right before he goes out. That still bugs me. I love the bearded Kanan look so much.
he looks so good. Oh, what are the chances we're gonna get a Kanan?
I don't know. I mean, I would look. I told Dragon this, but for me, like, the big thing that I would love to see in live action is just a recreation of his death, just because I feel like his death is like the most impactful death in all of Star Wars for me emotionally, and it drives so many of the characters. So even if we just saw just that, but I don't know. It is possible that we're going to see him in the World Between Worlds. Of course, the big thing with Kanan is, like, I don't necessarily know if Freddie Prinze Jr. would fit him in live action.
No, I think he's too old to what Kanan.
Right.
But I think it'd be funny if you don't show him, if you just hear his voice, if it's still just Freddie Prinze Jr.
I could see that.
Because Star Wars is one of the franchises now that's done a fun mixing of live action and voice actors, kind of like switching in and
like
out.
Like Clancy Brown popping up to reprise his role.
Thrawn,
mm-hmm.
The exact same actor. The biggest disappointment for me was the Grand Inquisitor. I was kind of hoping we could have got Jason Isaacs back for that, but I think he would have looked more like Thrawn than the actor that they got to play him in Obi-Wan. But I digress.
So really quick before we get to the Anakin stuff, I want to just kind of double back around to the Hera side of things. There's really not much. It's literally kind of like moving chess pieces in her part. But I do like that she takes matters into her own hands, assembles a crew. I'm not a big fan of the fact that we have the same captain guy from Mando in there. I don't really like cross-pollinating this show and Mando. I think it's important that this show is its own thing.
I mean, it's kind of already just in its essence, because it's like half of these characters already showed up in Mando anyways. I'm more upset with the fact that she decided to bring her son.
Yeah. Although her son having the whole "I have a bad feeling about this" line, that's honestly one of the better "I have a bad feeling about this" that we've gotten in live action Disney Star Wars. I really did like that moment.
Not accepting the situation, I think that's the Force. That's what that clear, like, because she's looking at him like, oh shit. I heard one of my friends asked me, they're like, I kind of wish like Ahsoka was training Jason, and I'm like, but why? Like, why would you want that? You wouldn't want that. You wouldn't want a child like training to be a Jedi, like, for a show that has no connection to Ezra, when that's like the plot of the show is to find Ezra. It's like seemingly like you want Sabine, because we know Sabine and Ahsoka were training together.
Sure.
Didn't know that like that stopped and they had a huge falling out, and now we're picking up where that left off.
I swear to God, we need a flashback of the falling out, because we really don't have enough info for that.
Like, they could have, whatever. The flashback should have been animated.
Right, I could see that.
Oh, speaking of which,
go
I
ahead.
just want to point out, I don't know if you guys talked about it. The training droid, Hu Yang.
Hu Yang, yeah.
Is it halfway practical? Because I can't tell.
I want to say it's some of it must be practical. I want to say
Because anytime I see him get like a full body shot, I'm like, I am so unsure if that's
Mhm.
if that's CGI. Like,
I honestly want to say it's practical with some CG like flourishes.
yeah, because he looks so good.
He does. He does. And I mean, that's another thing about this show. Like, first of all, a couple things about the show. Number one, visually, I think it's definitely the best looking that Disney Star Wars has looked since like Mando season 2.
Yeah.
If not even better than that. And number two, I want to highlight really quick. I think one of the unsung heroes with this show has been the music so far. I'm really digging the score.
Yeah, it's very melancholy. It just kind of just brings you in, and it's almost really playing with your emotions. Like, which is what good music should do. But yeah, there's a lot in this show that's good. It's I can see it becoming great. I want it to be great.
And it's like how many times like in the past have we heard about a show being a little bit rocky in its first few episodes? I mean, that's like I feel like that used to be like almost like a rite of passage that a show was a little bit rocky in its first few episodes.
I mean,
and we've kind of gotten to this point where it's like if it's not literally like Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul levels of like peak filmmaking right from the jump, then it's just worthless. And I really hate that attitude. I really like we need to go back to like giving shows more of a chance to like actually evolve into themselves.
I don't know what your opinions are on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but the first few episodes like felt like they were almost intentionally made that way.
I honestly didn't get past like episode 2 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. probably for that reason.
Okay, if you ever get the chance, go back, rewatch season 1, and then see if you don't want to finish the show. Because here's the fun thing about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. It was made and it came out during was it phase 2, right? So it came out post Iron Man 3, and then the next thing after that was Captain America.
Yeah, I know it ties. I know season 1 ties into Winter Soldier quite heavily.
It ties in like halfway through. Like halfway through in like into the finale, it's Winter Soldier. And
nice.
Side, like they're like it's major, like for the show and like the main cast.
Sure.
Like there are characters that are that you think are allies and like they're not. There's people that are enemies that like are weirdly like a part of the team now. It gets interesting. I don't want to say too much because you haven't seen it, but I think that was a good example of like a show having a rocky start, then becoming good and then staying good and getting better.
I mean, look at Clone Wars itself. Everyone hated that first movie.
Yeah, the movie.
I mean, that was such a bad first impression. Like, I know for a fact that movie was the reason why I never got into Clone Wars during its first run.
And that's because it's not a movie; it's 3 episodes.
Right.
Hell, it's not even the beginning of the show. It's just Ahsoka like being introduced to Anakin, but like if there is a chronological order to the show, and like that doesn't happen until like relatively like 16 episodes in or something.
Oh wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, like there's a whole bunch of episodes that happen before like the movie stuff happens.
That actually gets me more interested in like starting it, just because I just always assumed that it started with the movie.
No, well, because the show is told out of sequence for a lot of
okay. Got it.
It would be a small batch of like 3 or 4 episodes that like are an arc, like it tells like one small story, and then it goes off and it does like another small story. But like,
yeah, I think I need to do the chronological thing with that then, just to keep track of it all.
yeah, it would I think it gets more linear, like the more like into like season 3, 4, and 5 and 6.
Uh-huh.
It becomes a lot more linear. Like the first couple of seasons, they're just kind of all over the place. It's just like the Clone Wars. Here's one battle. Here's another battle. Jar Jar's in this one. Jar Jar. This show needs Jar Jar.
All right. Well, I guess let's talk about the dangling keys of it all. Like, ooh, look, it's the Anakin keys. It's the Anakin keys.
Boy, you look really good for burnt up guy.
So I don't know. I'm sorry. I just think it's a little bit funny that, like I've been throughout the weeks covering this show, I have been vocally like anti people who are just writing the show off and not giving it a chance at all. And I just think it's funny that those same people, just like the second that a little tiny taste of member berries gets introduced, they're all of a sudden like, oh, okay, I'm fully on board now. Let's go. Like, I don't know. I just kind of like, I think that's a little bit ironic.
Listen, Star Wars in its inception is nothing but member berries. Even the original trilogy.
You're right.
Was about people talking about stuff they remembered that we haven't seen yet.
Oh, God. Hey, Luke, remember the Clone Wars?
Oh, yes, your father was a Jedi and a pilot.
Oh, God.
Oh, Jedi. What? I've heard of those. Yes, you have. You have. The Empire only took power about how old are you?
So I gotta say, like, as someone who hasn't watched through, like, obviously I know that Ahsoka and Anakin have a deep, bond, and I don't really know the ins and outs of how they fell out. I obviously did see the season 2 finale, so I know kind of like the last place that they ended out.
Anakin and Ahsoka don't fall out. Something happens, and Ahsoka basically disavows the Jedi Order, like at the end of what happens.
Okay.
Like she leaves Anakin, but like it's not to spite him or because of. It's just like, I'm just leaving. That means I have to leave you too. I'm sorry, but I can't stay.
Got it. Okay.
And so
yeah, I'm hoping for one that the presence of Anakin, like I'm hoping that Rosario Dawson's performance becomes a little bit more lively, a little bit more upbeat after this.
Yeah, like having Anakin there will like bring the snips out at her. He used to call her snips.
Right.
At him, which is I always thought was funny.
Mm-hmm.
Here's hoping, like because I've always been curious about why she was so not cold, just like very closed off. Like I said it earlier. Like she's very pensive. Like she's calculating anything that is happening around her and what her response is. And the only time we ever get like any sort of like real emotion is when she's angry.
Right. Yeah. So that's definitely been an issue so far with the show. I mean, like I said, I feel like performance-wise, I think the actress playing Sabine is okay. Again, I kind of sound like a broken record, but I'm really sold on Mary Elizabeth Winstead. I honestly kind of wish she had a little bit more screen time. I'm kind of worried that her character might sort of just fall off now that it seems like we're going in two different plot lines and she's not really involved with either of them. We'll see. Maybe they go through the ring. Who knows?
I was worried that she wasn't going to be in the show much, but seeing that she's
like right there at the ring.
Yeah, they pull an almost what happened in Last Jedi. Like halfway through, like some of those actually just get fucked up. It would be nice if she's even if she's not like with them throughout the whole thing, if she's with them like towards the end, because if they do bring in Ezra, I feel like she needs to be there too.
There's got to be a reunion, yeah. If Ezra is alive, yeah.
We say there has to be, but like, there's nothing.
No, I know the sequel trilogy exists. I know. That was
Yeah.
believe me, that was by far the big missed opportunity of the sequel trilogy is hey, we have these three characters that people would love to see interact with each other. Let's never have them be in the same room.
And also, I'm also taking into account, we know for a fact that they are planning to do like an Avengers style, like
I
bringing
don't honestly, John, with all of Disney's trouble nowadays, I really don't know if that Avengers style movie thing is going to happen. I really they've been canceling Star Wars stuff like crazy. I really don't know.
Listen, all I know is they wanted to do it. They wanted Thrawn to be the big Thanos villain of it all.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, all right, let's see where this goes. Because I'm like, okay, I'm expecting Ezra to come back, and now he's like back in the fold. And so I'm not expecting them to even defeat Thrawn like completely, just probably thwart his plans yet again.
Mm-hmm. I think the Acolyte is already shot, right?
I think so.
I'm pretty sure that's coming out soon-ish, early 2024-ish.
Yeah, it's I think it was slated for spring.
Uh-huh.
At the earliest.
So we'll see how that goes.
I'm watching this show, liking what I'm seeing, and then also in the back of my mind, I'm like, okay, but I know what they also want to do, so I have to keep everything in mind. That everything has. I mean, it's already a franchise, but they want to make a franchise within a franchise, and I'm like,
which honestly is really dumb.
Tell stories.
Franchise.
Tell stories, and then in a year or two, if you want to bring people together, do it. I'm like, that's kind of what Boba felt like halfway through.
Oh God. Oh yeah. Honestly.
We were like, oh, the Mandalorian's taking over. I'm like, he had one episode.
You know how forgettable Book of Boba Fett is? Is that I literally forget that Boba Fett is still alive and kicking in the canon.
Yeah, that's
he just seems irrelevant now.
You know what's funny is that with this show, I'm like, oh my god, I just had a thought. What if they bring back Tamara Morrison in, but not as Boba, but as the old
Rex?
Yes.
That would be pretty funny. Although I'm not gonna lie, I do really like Captain Rex as a character, so I'd like to see it.
They pull a they pull a what the hell is the last Star Wars movie called?
A Rise of Skywalker.
Skywalker. I still haven't seen it. But I do know that the entire galaxy comes to help everyone.
Yes.
I want a more New Republic Rebel version of that for the end of this, and it's all being led by Hera and Rex, just leading.
That would be fun.
Thrawn's coming through, your blue ass back in that rift. Gonna watch you here.
Of course, if that's if we have a big kind of team up moment like that, Hondo's got to be part of the equation. It has been a running joke of Dragon and Eyes since literally I think Mando season 1, if not season 2 at the absolute earliest or the absolute latest, is we need to see Hondo live action show up in one of these shows.
You know what my quick pitch was to my friend about what would be a great thing to put Hondo in? The big Adventures of Lando Calrissian show starring
I could totally see that. Yeah.
You can keep him and Billy D. Williams, because what you do is you open and close each episode with Billy D basically just recording his stories, and then you transition to Childish Gambino younger, and then he's teaming up with Hondo doing some scummy shit.
Totally.
Disney won't hire me because they don't like what I do. They just want money.
All right. Well, I think that's about it. I just want to highlight a couple of Dragon's comments about Balin. Sorry, hold on one sec. He says, ex-Jedi mercenary with an honor code. He also says, I'm still not convinced that he's a dark side user. I think he's gone his own way. Now I'm just picturing like a montage of Balin set to that song. You can go your own way.
I don't know. His pupil was pretty murdery.
Yeah. You think he's Sith?
I don't know if he's Sith, but here's the thing. You can be dark side and not Sith.
That's true. That's true.
Ahsoka is a light side user, but she's not a Jedi.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Oh
God, Dragon says for a moment he was thinking Hondo saved Ahsoka. That would be wild, man.
The big mid-season twist, Hondo's been there the whole time. He's been
God.
Pick up profit.
Oh, Jesus. All right. Well, I think that's about it. So big thanks to Dragon and Richard's Victims for actually commenting for the first time. The first 2 episodes got 0 comments. Jon, thank you for coming on. It's been a pleasure, my friend.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
All right. So let's see, folks. I'm just gonna say our schedule is gonna be a little bit out of whack this week, but usually Dragon does Phineas and Ferb with Jacob Weil on Fridays, but it's going to be tomorrow, Thursday night. So just so you guys know. And alrighty then, that'll do it for us tonight as we holster our remotes till the next installment calls for the draw. Mano y mano. Just Plus. And us.
Insert catchphrase here.
Hondo Anaka, the real star.